Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together. Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Paul Lopez.
And I'm April Martinez. Good morning, Belize.
Good morning.
Good
It is
morning.
Monday, January 12th.
Already.
Yeah, we're halfway into the year and
crazy.
it's going by as quickly as we blink.
Yeah.
And that's good for some people. For some people, it's like, oh my season finally they come to an end, right? Payday, they right on the car and I breathe a sigh of relief, all kind of thing. But it's good to be on set this morning.
It's good to be on set with you as well, Paul. Welcome, and
Thank
happy
you.
Monday.
Happy Monday.
We have a wonderful show lineup for everyone. So
Yeah.
let's get into what we have in store for our audience today.
Indeed, we have an excellent show lineup, and this is what you can expect from this morning's show. We're going to be shining light on the modern human trafficking dilemma. We're going to be delving into what that looks like and how plans are being implemented to tackle it. Secondly, we're going to be planning for the unexpected with insurance. Yeah, people got bad views, good views about insurance. Well, we're going to be looking at it and to see how it may benefit you or it may quell some of your concerns. That conversation, of course. Red Cross supports accessibility across Belize. Another important conversation about wheelchairs and wheelchair accessibility. And last but certainly not least, supporting island life through reliable delivery.
Wow.
So delivery services, another big topic right there. Taking place in Belize.
Of course, Paul, we have had a long weekend. Well, not a long weekend per se, but there are a lot of things happening throughout the course of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So here are the 5 things that we think you need to know before you leave your homes this morning. Of course, the big topic of discussion since Thursday really is BTLI's major telecom buyout transparency question. So even though we did have a press conference on Friday, there's still several questions that are laid on the table when it comes to BTL acquiring Smart and other cable companies. Lord Ashcroft comments on BTL's acquisition of SpeedNet. Residents cry foul over Macaw sanctuary plans in the village of Red Bank. Bellopan residents hold March for Justice for Mark Gabriel. And finally, man fatally shot in Belize City. But I think the biggest topic of discussion here this morning, Paul, is of course BTL's acquisition of Smart and the other cable companies.
Yeah, so perhaps that's where we will begin. I'd like to perhaps first ask you if you tuned in to Friday's press conference.
I did.
BTL press conference.
I did.
And what were 1 or 2 takeaways for you from that?
So I think for me, we're happy that they did come to the media and try to have an open and honest discussion about what is taking place. My first thought about it really is that I still have several questions as to who this is for when it comes to BTL acquiring Smart and other cable companies, right? I'm trying to understand what sort of laws Belize has for something like this. I understand we don't have an antitrust law that the U.S. has when it comes to sort of prohibiting monopolies and so forth. And then I'm trying to understand why the cable companies as well. I'm Smart, okay, fine. This is basically
Mobile
knocking
and
out
internet.
your competition in a sense. But trying to acquire the other cable companies and so forth, it's like you're trying to take control over every sort of access when it comes to fiber optics, telecommunication, data, and of course how we get certain telecommunications or communications or media in general in Belize. So those are the two things that I'm really trying to figure out. What is this long-term benefits of something like this? Because for the most part, Belize is not even 500,000 people live in Belize. So having one telecommunication company, fine, it benefits 500,000 people. But what happens when our numbers double, right, or triple, and then we still only have one company? That runs the risk of pricing discrimination, that runs the risk of you're able to do whatever you want when it comes to pricing, and we don't have other options as consumers. So while right now for our benefit of one telecommunication might be okay, we're not going to stay the same forever. And I don't know, or maybe if they are, or maybe they're not thinking about that in the longer run. And of course, the controversy of the Social Security Board's funds being utilized for something like this. That is where I think the general population really has questions and concerns, because that is the people's money, right? Are we going to have persons wait long for their pensions if there's no monies to be able to provide for that? We already have this issue as it is. Now utilizing those funds to acquire something like this is going to run the risk of something like that happening more often than not.
Indeed, those are some very good points, April, and I think that we could also look externally to get an understanding of what's happening outside of Belize, and put a sort of broader view on that to get a better understanding of what's happening here in Belize, right? So in the US right now, there is this huge war. There's this war in the entertainment industry, a bidding war, if you would. And if you spend any time on social media or on the news, you'll get a look into it, where Netflix, the king of streaming in the world, and Paramount, another huge business in the entertainment industry, they're both fighting to see which company could buy out Warner Bros., right? Now, Warner is the third or fourth largest company in the entertainment industry in the US.
Yes,
and the thing is with Warner owns like vast entertainment assets. Warner owns DC. For those who know about DC and the superhero universe, they own Looney Tunes, CNN, TNT, Harry Potter, a number of franchises, right? And so there's a bidding war, because essentially what will happen is, if Netflix, which is already a king in that industry, buys up Warner, they could essentially own and control a bigger portion of the market. Or if Paramount does the same, they could essentially own a bigger portion of the market. And a question comes in that case, which is, would Netflix or Paramount wield too much power by gaining control of this huge share of the market, right? So you take that example now, you look at that debate in the US, and you bring yourself now to Belize. And the question applies in similar fashion. Would BTL wield too much power by gaining control of a huge share of the market? BTL is, one would say, the leading telecommunications internet provider in the country, right? And right after BTL, you have Smart. And then right after Smart, you have NextGen. NextGen and Centaur are essentially neck for neck in terms of competition, because they serve different geographical locations across the country. And then you have Southern Cable Network, which is, based on my understanding, a part of NextGen, or operates under NextGen at this point in time,
in PG,
based on,
I think, and
and based on certain agreements being made. But essentially, the question here, as it is with the Netflix, Paramount, Warner conversation, is if we are willing to give BTL this much power. Because what buying up Smart, some people are saying, would do, it would wipe out the competition, right? So what are the concerns? What are concerns? One of the concerns we're hearing is that higher prices without competition.
Yep.
Is that without the competition, the concern we're hearing is that BTL could essentially just put a price.
Yeah, they can do
In a
what they
similar fashion, if Netflix buys up one of its largest competitors, then you don't necessarily have that competition to go to anymore. You have to come to me if you want this content. You have to come to me if you want this service. And what is there to say that I have to keep my prices the same? So that's one of the concerns. Higher prices without competition. With competition, one of the things that competition does, competition encourages businesses to keep their prices at a rate. So competition determines market prices.
I also wanted to say that it also pushes for innovation, Paul.
Right. So that's another point.
Because if you have no competition, there is no one pushing you to be better.
Right.
Right. And we fall and we run the risk of lack of quality service. And I'm not saying that that is something that is happening or is going to happen or anything like that. I'm just saying that that is a potential possibility with something like this. I was also listening to the press conference on Friday when they were talking about the fact that there are so many cables all over the place, fiber optic cables all over the place. Certain lines are being dragged down, and something like this would eliminate that, if you will. But and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that BTL already owns those, and that they are, I guess, for lack of a better word, rented out to Smart and the other,
service,
right?
Optic,
so why is it that then they need to just own it? They are already making a level of profit from lending to these other companies and so forth. But we also run the risk of what economists call regulator overload, right? The PUC would face the massive task of acting as the only line of defense for consumers, requiring much stronger enforcement powers to prevent price gouging.
Well, at this day, the PUC is essentially the monitoring authority for telecommunications, right? They are the monitoring agents, right? They overseeing agency for telecommunications. So they have a huge task, and we could talk about their task in a moment. But I like what you said about innovation.
Yeah.
One of the things that competition does is it kind of drives businesses to say, how can we change up things a little bit to appeal more to customers and drive in new customers? And then, of course, there's also the concern that we're hearing about reduced choices. And what these things are doing is they're having people question, and I suspect it's one of the reasons why the chair or the SSB's representative on BTL resigned, because there are huge concerns. Just take a look at the example. Let's take a look at some of the services that Smart offers, Digi offers, NextGen offers, and Centaur offers, right? Just as an example. So Smart offers, as an example, $61 for 24 megabytes of data, right? They offer $90 for 44 megabytes of data. This is all on their website, and $135 for 100 megabytes of data. Digi comes in now and they say, well, we now offer $61 for 24 megabytes, but we're going to offer $49 for 20 megabytes. And then NextGen comes in and says, we not offer 20 or 24, but we're offering $49 for 25 megabytes. And then Centaur comes in and says, we're going to take that same $49 and we're going to offer it for $20 megabytes per second of data, right in line with Digi. I'm saying that there's a range in place for prices that is set and established by the market, by demand, by competition, and people are concerned that that could be done away with because all these companies that I just listed are on the table for sale.
Yeah.
Then there's the other side of it, where the economies of scale is concerned. It's a big term that simply means that a large single firm, and this is in favor of the buyout, that a large single firm can try to produce at a lower cost, right? So if we buy out all these companies, we essentially able to produce now at a lower cost. We could do away with the inefficiencies. We could do away with management and maintenance expenses here and there with the lines that you're talking about. And because we're able to do that now, we're able to lower cost because the input cost is lower. So we're lowering cost, and as a result, we could provide more better services at a lower cost for our economy, right? Versus all of these different competitions trying to get a share or a piece of a very small market. The challenge with that is that history does not bode well for us in Belize where these types of operations are concerned. And I think that is what is biting this deal in its rear per se. Just two examples. Let's look at BEL, for example, which essentially provides services, electricity services to the entire country. It is, in essence, a monopoly. But what are we seeing? We're not seeing lower prices or lower costs for the Belizean people. What we're seeing is we're seeing prices increase. In fact, this year, we're expected to see an increase at the end of January in our electricity bills. When you look at BWS, another essential monopoly, and the prices again are increased. So those services, they do not bode well in the psyches of Belizeans for a deal like this.
But when it comes to your water and electricity, and honestly, dare I say, and this might be devil's advocate in a sort of way, data, internet and cable, they're no longer luxury items. These are needs that people have now. There is no way that we can get around this country without having some way of communicating with each other, right? But from what I understand in terms of the antitrust laws in the United States, essential services don't necessarily fall under monopolization. So something like BEL and BWS that are essential services that shouldn't fall under monopolies, right? Because they provide an essential service. But what I really wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of this, and the big elephant in the room, really, Paul, and it was something that I also had questions about from the press conference. You have to convince me that this isn't crony capitalism. You have to convince me that this isn't beneficial only for 1%ers. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to conflicts of interest from all of these different boards, it's plain as day. And I understand that there is a counter argument from BTL's position in terms of the rationalization of eliminating waste and protect the national interest, things like cybersecurity and so forth. I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, there are certain players in this game that are politically affiliated. And so you have to convince us, the wider public, that this is for the benefit of us and not crony capitalism. I know that we had a statement that was issued by Lord Ashcroft. If we could pull up that statement now so that we could properly read it, because as we understand, he's also a key player in this game as well.
So when we look at the statement from Lord Ashcroft's office, and that's exactly where we were going, it provides for us for the first time, right? What I find commendable, I'll say, it provides for us for the first time details, insight,
percentages,
numbers that we have been looking for and we've been asking about, right? And we have different views and opinions about the person, the personality, but outside of that, this is the first time we're seeing actual figures. Because remember, the chairman on Friday refuse to delve into the figures and the value, even though we in the media, we know exactly what the value is, 170 million. But we get an insight now into the deal between SpeedNet Smart and BTL. And essentially, what we're looking at is that the Waterloo Group Charitable Trust, right, which Mr. Ashcroft says was established for charitable purposes, owns 77.5%. So the Waterloo Group Charitable Trust stands to earn about $62 million from this 170. Well, 80 million is going to the Smart deal, right? If this is to go through. So the Waterloo Group Charitable Trust stands to earn $62 million, while 16.73% of the shares is owned by the Prime Minister's brother.
Yes.
Jaime Briceño. You talked about the political familiarity and the conflicts that you've raised. Well, he stands to own about roughly around $13 million out of the 80, while Renan Briceño owns 5.77%. Another Briceño, and he stands to walk away with $4 to $5 million. So the huge chunk going to the Waterloo Group Charitable Trust, and the rest divided in different parts. So this is the first time. Not only are we looking at, in this release, beneficial owners, we're also looking at figures and how it's going to be broken down. But what this press release also reveals is that of the 80 million, 10 million will be paid in cash. So BTL has to now shin up 10 million to buy over Smart, and the other 70 million over the next 4 years. So what BTL will also have to do, they will also have to find an average of 18 million. 18 million.
80.
Well, no. I'm talking about 70 million over the next 4 years, right?
Yes.
That's a 4.5% interest. So they'll have to find $18 million every year for the next 4 years to pay off this debt. And this is just looking at the facts from at the surface as it is being presented. But of course, the press release says that Mr. Ashcroft and his office, they believe that BTL can do it. They're saying that it is possible for them not only to pay back this money in 4 years, but that if they acquire Smart, they'll be able to earn back that money in 4 years, right? And that's what's coming out of this press release. So what's the justification? According to the press release, the justification is, well, they'll be able to reduce waste, something we've talked about.
Yeah.
They'll be able to reduce maintenance charges. They'll be able to pay less on software licensing fees. I'm no expert in telecommunication or internet, so I can't say what all of these things mean. But something that stands out to me from this press release is about corporate functions. And this is where I have questions about job security.
Yeah.
One of the things we see right here on this couch weekly, April, is the marketing teams for these telecommunication companies acting in full force with great passion and enthusiasm for their jobs.
To sell you.
To sell you. So how many of these posts will become redundant, right? So my marketing team at Smart, we're big enough to cover the market share that we desire to lead our company into the vision that we have for customers, as well as the digit team, right? And so, in my view, I don't know that there is space for everybody on both marketing teams to find a place in this new configurations. But we haven't been able to get answers from BTL, which I think they're responsible to give us answers on how many of these posts will become redundant, how many marketing people will lose their jobs if they stand to lose their jobs, how many customer service people will lose their jobs if they stand to lose their jobs. Because if you're talking about companies operating in a small market, then we don't necessarily need to make the staff bigger where we combine them. So
you know
what's the risk there?
Indeed, and one of my larger takeaways from all of this, Paul, is that there is nothing protecting anybody from doing this. I can appreciate that the statement that the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry had put out and the opposition senators that have argued that this is not just about a single deal, but a classic combination of crony capitalism and state capture. Those are very, very, very strong accusations where private interests manipulate laws and companies to serve their own ends. And because we don't have any laws that protect us from something like this, because we've never seen this before, this has never happened to us before, it stands to say that they're allowed to do this, really.
Well, that's a huge point.
And if they're allowed to do this, what stops other larger companies from doing it as well?
So that's a huge point, and I want to get there, but let me just make this one last point before I get right there, and we could wrap up there. But what's this talk about Starlink, right?
Because I have my notes.
There's a huge conversation also going on about how Starlink could threaten the future of telecommunications and internet in Belize. Well, I am of the opinion that Starlink is in fact a threat.
It's already here.
Right. But the thing is about Starlinks, just at the surface, what Starlink does is they provide internet communications connections via satellite. So Elon Musk, the Great, has sent out thousands of satellites into the universe. Well, into the universe, into space, right? And through that, he's able to connect people to communication and internet without wires.
Yeah.
So it's satellite communication. Whereas the gold standard, traditional gold standard way of sending out these connections, at least as it currently stands, is through fiber optics, through cables. You have to set up your pole, you have to set up cables. Which one do you think costs more? Well, there seem to be studies done on this, and it appears as if the Starlink one cheaper. And there's concerns that, and they've already seen it in other markets, that because it is cheaper, that it will essentially knock out this traditional gold standard way of providing telecommunications and internet, because now we don't have to worry about all in wires, and Starlink will be able to provide a cheaper service to Belizeans. I think it's a threat to the local telecommunications and internet provider, but I don't think it's an immediate threat.
I think for me, an immediate threat would be the data sovereignty that we have.
That too, that is at risk.
That is at risk. That, I think, anything that is centered outside of Belize, local authorities, we wouldn't have any sort of oversight. If we do, it would be very limited of data practices. And of course, that runs the risk of cyber threats within Belize, potential data privacy, and national security risk. So I understand that part of having Starlink in Belize. But I'm trying to understand really, and again, our population is small, Paul.
Yeah, but if you get cheaper internet, won't you go for it through Starlink?
I don't think so, but that's just because I'm happy with the services that I have already.
So you're a nationalist.
I am.
You're thinking I want to support my national company.
I have always been a supporter of Belizean to the bone. You know this about me already.
Even if they offer me the thing cheaper.
Probably, but here's my question in terms of you're talking about Starlink being a threat. One of the marketing strategies that I've seen of Digi over the years that I found to be very commendable, and again, asking myself, why are we doing this and who is this for, is because they are not just telecommunications anymore. They provide other services. And so I'm trying to think about the extent of profit monopolizing our telecommunications under cable, because from what I understand, cable is not necessarily what people. I still have cable. I am somebody that still watches TV through cable. I know that a lot of people don't do that anymore. A lot of people watch on other plans and Netflix and so forth.
And then you got Next Gen.
And then you have Next Gen app. You have DigiTV, right? You have all of these other
IPTV,
ways,
you call
right?
it.
All of these other ways that people are watching through BTL. So I'm trying really again to understand the means behind all of this, and that's why I said it goes back to my first statement. You have to convince me that this isn't crony capitalism. You have to convince me.
So
I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
One of the final things I want to touch on, April. This is last, and it's definitely not the least or the only thing that can be said that's left to be said here, but the Public Utilities Commission finds itself in a very precarious situation.
Yes, they do.
They are the governing body for telecommunications in Belize. What does that mean? That means that the PUC has to look at this thing and they have to make a determination. This is a 7 persons configuration body. They have to look at this and they have to decide whether this is in the best interest of the industry or not. And just to mention, all members of the PUC are appointed by the GG with the recommendations from the Prime Minister. Again, people are concerned about the political and familial connections, all of that is part and parcel of this. And so that's another point, something to point out. So essentially, by the Prime Minister, these persons are appointed. But the law states, there is a law, you know. There is a law that governs telecommunications in Belize. Hey, that law is the Belize Telecommunications Act. And this weekend, I went out to see if we have any anti-monopoly act or any anti-monopoly legislation. And we don't.
No.
But what we do have embedded within the Telecommunications Act, on a need for read on legislation, on a need for read on the law. What we do have is a market dominance part, which is similar, right? Market dominance. Market dominance speaks about uncompetitive practice due to market dominance. And PUC has to, as the regulatory body, assess whether we will have this type of uncompetitive practice due to market dominance in order to make their determination and either sign off on this thing or say this not going forward. But what I found interesting is that under that market dominance section, there is a part that I am so curious about up to now. And I am no legal mind or expert. So, you know, when you interpret law, like when you read the Bible, if you go to church, people are tell you, every time you read that verse, I get something new from it. Again, new, that's how it works, right? I get something new, a new inspiration. And I find the law to be similar to that. But what?
I disagree, but go ahead.
People, if you go in a court
the
case,
law is the law. You don't analyze and interpret that and manipulate that for your own benefit.
Well, tell that to the lawyers and tell that to the judges. But what is said, and this is my final point here, but what is said in part 4, section 4 of that part, right, about market dominance, it says a licensee, in this case, let's just call it in this case a BTL, shall not enter into or give effect to any agreement, arrangement, or understanding which has the purpose or has or is likely to have the effect of significantly lessening competition in any market for the supply of telecommunication services or of any product used in connection with telecommunication services.
It's there.
It's the letter of the law.
It's there to the T.
To the T. And this established in 2002. So, in my mind, the architects, the drafters of this legislation thought to themselves, competition is a good thing. Competition will create fairness in the market. Can we amend laws? Can we change courses? Of course, we can. And that is the crossroad we find ourselves in. And this is why the Public Utilities Commission is between a rock and a hard place. What will they do when they assess and look at this piece of legislation? How will they interpret it? What sort of legal advice will they get? And how will this inform their decision as to whether or not to write off on this thing or not? The PUC essentially is our protection.
Yeah.
They are our protectors. Where Mr. Chairman Lizaraga says that BTL is a private company, and of course it is owned by public interest. It's a private company. Well, the PUC, they're our protection, established by the public for public good. So how will they look at this piece of legislation and interpret it?
And this is my final thought, we already have a distrust. The people already have a distrust when it comes to our government. Right? It doesn't matter who is in office. We tend to look at them and we're like, we don't believe everything. We need transparency. We need to be able to hold them accountable. Right? This is another classic situation of, if you decide that you're going to use public monies to buy companies owned by families of political affiliated personnel running the government, where we continue to have a distrust within these two parties, us and the government. It doesn't bode well, right? And I'm sorry, but if you're seeking to run again and having the public trust you, I don't think this is a way to do it, right? At the end of the day, if you are going to utilize our monies to do something like this, you have to manage it well. Time and time again, when we see nationalized companies utilizing public funds with mismanagement of those public funds, you have social upheaval. That is historically proven. It doesn't matter if it's telecommunication, it doesn't matter if it's oil, it doesn't matter if it's another resource. If it's not managed well, and if there is lack of transparency, it doesn't go well.
So in
right?
summary, my key takeaways. I believe BTL will wield a whole lot of power, and sometimes absolute power corrupts absolutely. If go unchecked. I think there are real concerns about how such a major merger will affect prices, and we have to look at those concerns. Competition breeds innovation. And as I pointed out, it informs market prices. Today, we know more than we did about the smart deal. But to what levels are jobs at risk? That's a concern.
It is a concern.
And what about the conversation is being had with staff members about their job security? People, things hard right now. And then finally, I think Starlink is a threat. Okay. I think it's a huge threat for our industry.
Tell us your thoughts. This isn't just about data, and this isn't just about higher internet or faster internet or whatever. It's about the future of data in Belize. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But this was a wonderful and fruitful conversation, Paul. We really want to hear from you and tell us your thoughts. We're going to jump into our weather update brought to you by the folks at the National Meteorological Service of Belize. All right, for today's forecast, it says sunny with a few cloudy spells today and cloudy at times tonight. Showers will be isolated with a medium chance for a few more occurring mostly over some northern and southern areas tonight. In today's temperatures, our highs for today along the coast are 80 degrees, inland 84 degrees, and in the hills 74 degrees. So it's a little bit chilly today. And in our lows along the coast, we have 70 degrees, inland 67 degrees, and over the hills 61 degrees. in our extended forecast for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. In our highs, it's roughly around the same temperatures that we have for today along the coast, 80 degrees and 82, and in our lows, 70 degrees and 67 degrees. On Wednesday, it's the same temperatures for our highs along the coast and inland. It roughly changes for our lows, 70 degrees along the coast and 66 inland. On Thursday, we have the same temperatures, and then we see a spike in our temperatures on Friday with 77 along the coast, 78 inland, 67 along the coast, and 60 inland. In our astronomical forecast, the sun rose this morning at 6:25 a.m. and is scheduled to set at 5:36 p.m. We have our moon set scheduled for 12:42 p.m. and our moonrise for 2:07 a.m. In our marine conditions, the sea state is choppy with winds blowing from the north to northwest at 5 to 15 knots. In our tides for today, our first tide was this morning at 6 a.m. Our second tide, our low tide, is at 2:44 a.m. Another high is scheduled for 4:55 p.m. and tomorrow's low is scheduled for 1:01 a.m. And that does it for our Eye on the Weather, brought to you by the National Meteorological Service of Belize. Paul, back to you.
Excellent. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a conversation about shining light on modern human trafficking. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
In the heart of the Canyo district, Calico Jacks is proving that sustainability and success can go hand in hand.
When Calico Jacks wanted to move to solar energy, the biggest difficulty for us was the finance. Belize Bank believed in our vision, and we are very happy and grateful that they gave us this opportunity for the financing.
Through the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, a partnership between Belize Bank and the CARICOM Development Fund, small and medium businesses can access financing for renewable and energy-efficient solutions with reduced collateral requirements.
Here at SCSB, we're grateful for Belize Bank to make it easy for our clients to go green. We're proud to work with businesses like Calico Jacks to help them lower their costs and their carbon footprint.
At Belize Bank, we are powering Belize's transition to renewable energy, one business at a time. Together with our partners, we're making sustainable financing accessible for all.
Belize Bank, financing a greener, stronger Belize.
This year reminded us that our work is so much more than communication. It's connection. Every time we supported a school, a youth program, or a community event, we felt the heartbeat of Belize. We met students who just needed someone to believe in them, and families grateful for a supportive hand. We saw communities welcome SMART not just as a brand, but a trusted friend. For us, impact is created through service, presence, and purpose. As we move into a new year, we remain committed to empowering our communities and sharing stories that reflect how SMART strengthens the connections that matter most.
That commitment to people drives how we build our products. We focused on delivering real value and flexibility. We upgraded our postpaid plans to include social media data, keeping you connected to your favorite platforms without the extra cost. For the prepay family, we enhanced prepaid plans to ensure you get more data and benefits from every single recharge. Flex bundles now better match real-time budgets, improving affordability. We introduced affordable Mexico data bundles to keep you connected while traveling. We are listening, adapting, and ensuring you get high-value connectivity you deserve.
Great plans need a great network. Smart strengthened its promise of bringing people together by investing heavily in expansion. We added new towers in key areas, bringing a stronger signal and improved service to more communities. Customers along the coastal road in Blancano, Mountain Pine Ridge, and Cristo Rey now enjoy more consistent coverage, making Smart a reliable companion for every journey. Smart launched its fiber network in Sartineja, bringing reliable high-speed connectivity for today's digital needs.
At Smart, we strive to reflect the energy of Belize in everything we do. From celebrating 20 years of excellent service to exciting collaborations, we've shared unforgettable times. We've delighted you with our biggest giveaways and deals ever. Ads you could laugh and connect to, and launched a revamped website to make your digital experience faster and more engaging.
As we look forward to the new year, we remain committed to what matters to you most: the communities we serve, the connections we build, and the precious moments we all share. All these remind us of our true identity and steadfast purpose, bringing people together.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned with us. This is our first conversation for this morning, and we have joining us Jana Maria Palacio, and she's the national coordinator for anti-trafficking for the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Council here in Belize. Mrs. Palacio, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. One of the first questions we can ask has to do with the council. Speak to us about the council and why we as Belizeans should want to know more about this council.
All right. So I will go all the way back to, I'll mention the Youth Enhancement Services. Okay. That's a good spot. They have been working with addressing the exploitation of children before the government kind of took on legislation and all these other effects. But in early 2000s, the government decided they needed to put something in place to respond to human trafficking. And ever since then, it's kind of morphed into the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Council, chaired by the Ministry of Human Development. Now, for it to make sense, human trafficking that we were discussing earlier is essentially the avenue that exploitative people or abusers have taken to find a way to make money using people as property. So we had slavery, then we have indentured servants, and now they found a different way to exploit people, because for some reason throughout history there's always some way to, they want to find some way to make money without having to actually pay people or compensate them properly. And so human trafficking is now what we sometimes refer to modern day slavery. So the purpose is always to make some money, and people are the commodity.
Yeah. How prevalent, I could ask here as well, is this issue in Belize, like human trafficking? When we spend a lot of time in our offices, perhaps we don't think about it, or you don't see it?
We are assessing its prevalence. We don't believe that we by any means have the numbers that represent what's happening, but that does not mean that we think it's rampant across the country. It's just something that we're trying to assess. Currently, we have mostly cases coming out of the Belize district that includes the Keys, Cayo, and is it Stan Creek? Yes. So those are the three main districts that we see cases from. Of course, Orange Walk as well, but we're not getting a lot of reports. And like you said, sometimes we sit in our offices and we don't think of these things because the dynamic is sometimes complex, and it could present as, oh, a person is just making a choice, this is their decision, or you can see them, you don't really think, it's not people literally chained up.
Right.
So are locked behind a door, so it's not quite obvious, and so sometimes people might not feel the passion about addressing this issue. So it is an issue, and it's very prevalent within, or not prevalent, sorry, girls under the age of 18 are the most vulnerable to becoming trafficked in our country. So that's when we discuss prevalence, I always have to discuss girls because they are at the highest risk.
How do we, and I wouldn't even know where to begin of how you would get reports of something like this, because as the general public, we wouldn't even know what something like that looks like, right? So if somebody goes into a hospital and there is a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and you know they're probably not trying to seek as much attention because of the dynamic of whatever relationship they have, how do we as the general public look for stuff like this? What are some signs?
It's unfortunately not a checklist thing where you can say, oh, this is for sure trafficking. There are some like very, what we call big red flags. If you see that, it's definitely it's more than likely trafficking. But some of these things can only be found out if you're a medical professional or a front desk hotel worker, and you have the right, and it's normal to be asking certain questions, right? You know, a regular civilian moving up and down, they might see certain things that look strange. And so what we've told persons is that if you feel that something looks, you know, inappropriate, or you think it's that, still report it. Because whether or not you know it's trafficking, it's good for us because the police officers will go in and do an investigation no matter what. They won't need the reporter's information. And so the biggest thing is to trust your gut and your instinct. If something looks unusual, a good thing would be a very young looking child dressed a particular way with someone that's much older than them. That's often a sign of perhaps sexual exploitation, an inappropriate relationship between a potential minor and adult, which could be human trafficking. And I have to specify that because unlawful sexual intercourse is not human trafficking. So where someone is having sex with a minor under the age of 16, if there's no exchange or intent for some financial or benefit from that sex, or money exchange for that sex, or school fees exchange for that sex, it's not trafficking. It would be just unlawful sexual intercourse as opposed to human trafficking. So human trafficking has to have, there's some exchange of benefits, even if it's not financial. So look out for things that look unusual, or migrants that are working in some places and it seems that they might not have the freedom to move as they please. They might, mention something in passing, oh, I don't have my passport. And it might be innocently stated, but somebody not having access to their own finances, their own passports, payment is not going directly to their bank accounts, or, oh, they're paying my family back home. Those are some things that you could look out for and say, you know what, let me report it to the authorities and have them look more into it. So there's no harm in reporting a potential case of human trafficking.
And then
we do the investigation. When I say we, I'm referring to the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Police Unit specifically.
Perhaps we go there because we've talked about the council, but what does the council do to enforce or identify? I don't know that you are out there suited up and say, make me go for it. So how does it work?
I like to say I get to do the pretty part of the job, in an AC room speaking on the media about human trafficking. But the council is made up of about 13 bodies across the government, but it also includes NGOs like the Youth Enhancement Services, the National Organization for the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect. But on the side of enforcement, immigration, labor, and the police sit on the council, and they have the biggest function when it comes to enforcement and response. And of course, the Department of Human Services, who provides protection for both adults and children, which is, because DHS only deals with children, but when it comes to trafficking, their job is to do both adults and children.
Have we ever seen a case in Belize where people have been trafficked out? And
Belizeans that are trafficked outside. Okay. I'll put the two responses together. So the way that it works is someone reports a case of human trafficking. They would report either to DHS, labor, immigration, whichever it goes to, they work in tandem. So it would still be taken to the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Police Unit. That's a specialized unit within the Belize Police Department who is trained to investigate just human trafficking. That's their only job. They also deal with smuggling cases sometimes. If they need labor, immigration, social security, whoever to go with them, they will go with them. And they do surveillance, they would investigate before they even go in and like kind of knock things down. They'll make sure that they have sufficient evidence, get a warrant, and they go in and do an operation. And so that's the way that enforcement works. With regards to Belizeans being trafficked abroad, that is something we are looking into. We've had reports that we've seen on the media about a Belizean perhaps caught up in a rescue operation in Mexico. We've reached out to the Mexican authorities. On both occasions, the Belizean persons were not interested in pursuing anything or getting some assistance from the government, because the government stands ready that if there's a Belizean that is found to be a victim of human trafficking abroad, to support their return to Belize and their reintegration into the country. So there are programs for that. We just have not yet had any case reported to us from external entities, but we're doing things to ensure that we are doing better at identifying these cases. We did a training with the consular and diplomatic staff in New York this year, virtually of course, and we're looking to expand that so that we start at least with the government officials that are based outside. So if anything happens, they're able to report it and identify the issue, report it to their authorities there, and then we connect with Belize.
What are the penalties for persons that are caught trafficking others?
Okay. There are several. The main penalty, which is section or provision 11 in the trafficking laws, a person that is caught trafficking a person can get up to, if it's an adult, 8 years, if it's a child, 12 years, and under aggravated circumstances, 25 years. Essentially what that means is if and it's up to 8 years, it's not a minimum sentence of 8 years. That provision of the law does not only cover if you committed the offense of trafficking, so you went through the whole process and you are the only person. If you directed somebody to engage in anything that is covered under the definition of trafficking in persons, you can be charged. If you intended to, if there is proof that you attempted to do this, you can also be charged. We also have someone that is standing trial where the women were not yet trafficked, but they had already been in Belize. They were able to get some assistance prior to the exploitation, and that person was arrested and is undergoing trial because of it. So you can still be charged even if you did not, even if those persons had not yet been exploited.
I did I did a story, not to get on my soapbox, but I did a story in the third quarter of last year looking at a specific sport discipline and concerns raised by players that felt as if they were being exploited.
Right.
These are international players. They accused the sport owner, the club owner, of withholding their passports. They accused the owner of not giving them their due pay, of putting them in less than adequate housing and living conditions, and not honoring certain obligations that they felt were agreed to prior to coming to Belize. That case, we came to understand after investigation, shows that there was no, that the exploitation did not warrant a human trafficking charge, right? Or the complaints did not warrant human trafficking charges. How does your investigators or law enforcement officers go about making an assessment like that, specifically in such a case?
Okay, so in that particular case, I have to be very careful in how I respond to this question. But essentially, to prove human trafficking in the courts, you have to prove an act, a means, and a purpose. So this is a little technical now.
No, go ahead.
And so the act is what is being done. Somebody was transported, harbored. Then we have the means, which is how you were transported, recruited, harbored. And so that is the portion that they have to have strong evidence for if they're proving a case involving adults. When it's children, we don't have to prove that because children are considered vulnerable and specially protected under the law. So we just prove that they were recruited for exploitation purposes. Now, as an adult, we have to prove how you were recruited or how you were defrauded into coming into this situation. And then ultimately, the purpose, which is exploitation for forced labor, sexual exploitation, and so forth. Now, the challenge that we've had as a government when it comes to some cases that we have believed were trafficking, persons tend to not want to pursue these cases. It's unfortunately the reality. We've had cases where officers have spent hours, months investigating, and because of the trauma, these survivors do not want to, and you can't blame them. Like, you want to get over it, you're done, you get the support, and thankfully the government does not restrict you from getting support because you don't want to pursue a case, but they still go through the process. So regarding that particular case, without exposing information from internal documentation, no, it doesn't seem that the players were much interested in pursuing any legal charges or anything, you know, but it's still something we're looking into, and we're looking to ensure that we are putting things in place to reduce the likelihood of that happening. So we've worked with immigration, worked with labor, and those guys were interviewed by the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Police Unit. The assistant director for immigration at that time made sure that once this came up, her red flags went up, and she had flagged it to the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Council. The Labor Commissioner was looking into it. And so we're making sure that, you know, if in the future something comes up that, you know, really and truly charges should be made, if these players are willing to make a report and lay a claim, then we could proceed with
this
charging.
Sorry, I want to ask about child labor.
Do a quick follow-up on that, because it's a good case study, right? To show, in my view, that even if the authorities within the discipline are not culpable in this act, there now is an eye-opening situation that perhaps presents an opportunity to establish anti-trafficking safeguards within the organization.
Precisely.
Is that being looked at, and conversations being had with authorities in this discipline?
We have plans to work with the private sector this year to work on safeguards to reduce human trafficking. One of the ways that we're doing that, we've been working with local government since 2021 to train all liquor licensing boards and trade licensing boards on human trafficking and how their work has some nexus with human trafficking, because trafficking happens in bars as well. Bars that have a license to sell alcohol, bars that have a trade license to operate a business. And so we are looking at engaging with the private sector, and so we know that that is definitely on, you know, on my books to look at for 2026. And to give additional clarity to the way that the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Council does its work, we look at risk factors and what are these things that lead to human trafficking, including legislations that might not necessarily allow for it, but it becomes easy for criminals to evade the law because of the way the system is set up. So we also look at legislations. Is that the Liquor Licensing Act, the immigration laws, the labor laws, even our trafficking laws. And if there is need to change it, we request for consultations, we advocate for adding provisions in the law to add additional safeguards. So yes, this is something that we're looking at.
I was going to ask in terms of, I guess, keeping up with the act of trafficking itself. It's a multi-million-dollar industry, quote unquote.
Yes.
And it changes every single day. And people are getting a little bit more creative in the ways
would say a lot more
creative in the ways that they traffic persons, and they sometimes hide it under the guise of prostitution and child labor.
Precisely.
So how are you all managing that within the laws?
Well, we know that the Labor Department, they're actually working on modernizing the labor laws, which is really good. And that includes a specific focus and priority on child labor. So we know the charge for child labor in the current laws is not much, but they're working with the international labor organizations and their consultants to ensure that that law is stronger to protect children. When it comes to the changing kind of landscape of human trafficking, before 2020, most of our victims were migrants. And since COVID, most of our victims are Belizeans. And so we explain to people that you don't look at just someone that does not look like us. We have persons that are Mayan, Mestizo, Creole in Belize that are victims of this particular case, and I mean this situation of human trafficking. Now, I think I'm forgetting. Okay, yes, you said that. Yeah, how do these things? That's a challenge. We had, I'll reference a case that was very public, an operation that happened in March of last year, where some Honduran women were identified as migrants working, or police had done an operation, and unfortunately, the way that our justice system works, for most cases, you have to have a complainant for something to proceed to an investigation officially. That's a wider justice system change that I will not comment on. However, in that case, if those women had no intentions of reporting any potential exploitation, or only results was to, they leave the country, because they do not have the papers. If someone says, yes, I have experienced exploitation through interviews, this is not just one question. Police say, you're a victim. That's not what they ask. There's a process, and police don't engage with survivors alone. We have social workers that go along with them on every operation. So once there's a potential for a survivor, social workers are there with them. And so there is psychosocial support on ground to assess, and social workers spoke with these women. Police spoke with them, social workers spoke with them again, and they only wanted to return home. So it's just sometimes the reality.
Before we close, my final question really is what happens afterwards in terms of survivors and victims. What is the process? For migrants, how are they displaced? Do they go home like these women, or do we find spaces here in Belize? What happens next?
Well, truthfully, most adults that are migrants, they want to return home. Okay. So we work with their embassies. Previously to 2024, IOM had a program where assistant voluntary return, where persons were able to return home without being given an order to leave or anything of that sort. So they return home, and what we try to do is ensure that we communicate with the authorities in that country so that they know someone that's a survivor of trafficking is returning back home, so that they can continue what we call continuum of care. If they determined to stay in Belize, we support them with getting the proper documentation. During the amnesty program, we got 4 survivors of human trafficking amnesty applications, and they were all approved. And so we have a process. There's a unit within the Department of Human Services called the Alternative Care Unit, whose sole job is human trafficking and dealing with accompanied and unaccompanied migrant children. They provide stipends for adults that are independent living. They organize getting children in residential care facilities. Priority is family reunification throughout the whole system. So we'll try that, but in some of these cases, the parents or the family is the culprit. And so we can't place them with the family, so perhaps foster care. In shelters, we do have a shelter in Belize currently run by an NGO who does comprehensive care for survivors. So that's something that we're currently working with to ensure girls are able, it focuses on girls, but girls are placed here so that they can get the psychosocial support they need, the schooling that they need, and a really caring, healthy environment so that they can rehabilitate and reintegrate into society, because they deserve the best possible future after what they've endured.
Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
And so we had the National Coordinator for the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Council on set this morning discussing this very important topic, and we want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me so much.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. So with that, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're switching over to insurance and the importance of it and why we all should be insured. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa. And for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
We at Fulltech Systems understand that technology isn't just a tool, it's a game changer. At home, smart devices and AI are revolutionizing daily life. In education, tech is making learning more interactive and accessible for students and educators alike. For businesses and government, it's driving innovation, streamlining operations, and unlocking growth, leveraging tech for better services, infrastructure, and security. At Fulltech Systems, we help you thrive with cutting-edge solutions, partnering with leaders like Dell, HP, Microsoft, APC, Fortinet, Cisco, and Tomy Inc. We deliver the right products for your needs, whether it's boosting efficiency, improving customer engagement, or scaling operations. Connect with us and let's drive innovation together. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you come for the price, but stay for the service.
In the heart of the Cayo district, Calico Jacks is proving that sustainability and success can go hand in hand.
When Calico Jacks wanted to move to solar energy, the biggest difficulty for us was the finance. Belize Bank believed in our vision, and we are very happy and grateful that they gave us this opportunity for the financing.
Through the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, a partnership between Belize Bank and the CARICOM Development Fund, small and medium businesses can access financing for renewable and energy-efficient solutions with reduced collateral requirements.
Here at SCSB, we're grateful for Belize Bank to make it easy for our clients to go green. We're proud to work with businesses like Calico Jacks to help them lower their costs and their carbon footprint.
At Belize Bank, we are powering Belize's transition to renewable energy, one business at a time. Together with our partners, we're making sustainable financing accessible for all.
Belize Bank, financing a greener, stronger Belize.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned with us. This is our second conversation for this morning, April. And this one is all about insurance. And we have joining us insurance advisor, none other than Miss Marsha. Guess she's no stranger to our set of that we insurance family now. Right? Miss Gill, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you. Happy New Year.
It's a pleasure to be here, and same to you.
I think that one of the funny conversations that I think I've always had about insurance is why I pay for something where I'm not sure if it benefit me. I see my paycheck go every single month towards health or towards life, and it just the go because I know to use it. So why should people be insured?
Well, first of all, insurance is a financial safety net, right? It's for when you need it, because you can't wait until you need it to get it, because it will be too late. So you have to have it in place. It provides that peace of mind. So although you may say you're not seeing the benefit in the moment, it is there for you to use whenever the need arises, right? So it's a necessity. It is a necessity.
Okay, make I reel that back. What sort of insurances should people have?
It all depends on your needs, on your situation, right? Definitely, if you have a family, if you have persons who depend on you, you definitely need to have life insurance, okay? Everybody needs to have health insurance because we don't know if and when we will get ill, right? So everybody needs to have health insurance. Retirement planning, everybody who works have to have some form of retirement plan, because we will all reach that stage when we will decide that we want to slow down or stop completely. So we have to plan for that time. So it all depends on what your situation is, what your needs are, and then we will coin a plan that will suit your situation.
How does it work? How do I use my insurance if I'm in a traffic accident or if I fall ill? What is the process?
Okay, so in a case like that, for illness, you're talking about illness and accident, then we're talking health insurance, okay? So the benefit of having a health plan is that it allows you access to the best health care. Because if you don't have a health insurance, you're limited to where you can go for treatment and how much treatment you have access to. So if an illness or you have an accident, you have your insurance medical card, you can go to any facility of your choice to get the best care that is required.
One of the conversations that people are having right now at the start of the new year is budgeting. And one of the questions is, how do I budget insurance into my process and into my plan?
So you should budget it, and it should come from the top. Right? Sometimes we want to spend and have all the expenses, and then we say, okay, I'll see what I have left. And based on what remains, then I will decide if I'm going to save, if I'm going to put a portion of that to insurance. But it should be considered an expense. So from the jump, you're supposed to say, this is what I want to commit to. And you see sometimes persons think that you have to put this large amount of money.
Talk to us about
right?
that.
And that is not so. It's whatever you're committed to, because it's a habit that you're forming. So sometimes you may want to start with a premium as low as $50 a month, maybe $100 a month. But as you start to make that payment and you start to appreciate the benefits of the plans that you have in place, then you want to do more, right? And as you go through different life stages, you also want to make sure that wherever you are in life, your financial plan must be up there too, right? So if you want to like kind of wet your feet, start conservative, you know, and as you progress and as your budget allows you to do more, you could increase, because financial planning is ongoing. What you start with, I always tell my client, the plan you start with will not be the only plan you have. Right? So it's a foundation that you're going to build on, right? So you can start anywhere that you feel comfortable.
What's the best plan when it comes to life insurance, as one example, for a low income home?
Okay, so the word is affordable, what you can afford, right? So the lowest cost of insurance is usually a term plan, and it's a pure coverage plan. So it provides the benefits at a low cost. But the benefit of starting with a term is that you have the opportunity to later convert it to a permanent plan, to a cash value plan, right? So it's really, as I said, you start where you're able to afford and build on it. But rather than delay, right, is to make a start and then you can build as you go along.
What's a term plan? Okay, you're using a big word there, right?
It's a small word.
It's a small word with big meaning.
A big meaning, right? Yes, well, a term plan, as the name would imply, it's for a period of time.
Okay.
So you could do a 20-year term. You could do a term to 80. You could do a term to 65, right? So it specifies the amount of time that you would have the coverage, right? So it's temporary.
How do you manage life insurance? And I think manage is the word I need to use, because I done did. So like, what happens to that once I have passed away?
Well, life insurance is about living. Because you also use life insurance while you're alive. Because when you have a life insurance that has a cash value component, the cash value you can use, you have access to that. So you are enjoying it while you're still alive. In all cases, if you access a mortgage, right? If you access a mortgage at a credit union, a bank, even Sagicor, we offer mortgages. I will tell you that one of the requirements for collateral is insurance. So that's something you're using and is benefiting you while you're alive.
So you have to get life insurance when you go for a mortgage at certain institutions, or all institutions?
All institutions require it. And the reason for that is that it is a long-term loan, right? And the institution wants to ensure that whether you're here or not, that the loan is repaid. So if you were to die before the mortgage ends, then the insurance pays. It also protects your loved ones, because if you're the breadwinner of your family and you pass and the person's left behind are unable to make that mortgage payment, then they face that they may lose that property, they may lose their home. So it's also a financial security for your family to ensure that whether you're here or not, that they will continue to be able to enjoy that home.
And I understand it's a stipulation, but what about the risks associated with, and it's a stipulation, but what about the risks associated with tying your insurance to your mortgage? Because, for example, if I don't pay my mortgage, my family won't benefit fully from the insurance when I'm gone, because the bank has to be paid, and I think that would be priority. So there is some level of financial management that has to be considered there.
Not necessarily,
Okay,
because remember that when you get a mortgage, the life insurance amount that is required is the amount of the mortgage, right? As you repay the mortgage, the balance reduces, right? But the collateral use is still there. So say, for example, you get a mortgage for, say, 100,000. Then your life insurance that's required is 100,000. But if at the time you pass, your mortgage balance is at 50,000, the insurance company will only pay the bank 50,000, and your beneficiary or beneficiaries will get that remaining 50,000.
And they got a house.
And they have the house.
Yes.
Right? So that's the beauty of it. So even though when persons approach for mortgage purposes, I still encourage them to name beneficiaries, because it will be only the outstanding balance of the mortgage that will be repaid from the insurance, and the balance will still go to your beneficiaries.
In Belize, and this is a new development of credit scores, right? They're trying to implement that sort of thing. Would that hamper persons of low income to be able to afford insurance?
No, definitely not, because insurance is part of financial planning. So it is actually a plus.
Okay.
So it should enhance your credit score.
What happens if I start to pay my insurance, I agree to something, a plan, and I'm unable to, at some point in the process, because we're talking for a long term, right? Some point in the process, meet those obligations. Will I be penalized from the insurance company?
It depends on the plan that you have, but there's no penalty, right? The thing is that you have to have this relationship. When I enter into a relationship with my clients, I explain to them, this is long term, right? We're going to stay in touch. Let me know what's happening with you, because there's always something that you can do. If you start with an amount that down the road may not be something that you can continue, we can come back and we can reduce your coverage, right? If there's a situation where maybe something happens that you're not collecting an income, you've lost your job, you're unable to pay for a few months, if you have a cash value policy, the cash value protects that policy.
You would take it out
yes.
The value?
So the cash value would lend you a loan during that time that you're unable to make your payments, so that your coverage remains in place. And when you're able to start paying again, then you would, I like to tell my clients, start with at least the premium amount that you had committed to, and you can then take care of the arrears. But the important thing is that you're not exposed, that the coverage is still in place during a time like that. So there's always some recourse.
Let me ask about job changes and so forth, because you have certain institutions that implement insurance within their policy, right? No matter what, you have to pay insurance.
Right.
But let's say I was working at a company for 5 years, I was paying $100 a month or $50 a month for insurance. I stopped there. I never did use the insurance. And then I went to another company, perhaps asking me to pay maybe $25 a month for insurance. Now, do I go back to zero when it comes to my insurance? How does that work?
So the benefit of being on a group plan is that when you leave the group plan, you can convert it.
Interesting.
So you can convert it to a personal plan. So there's continuity. So it's not as though you have lost anything, because bear in mind that the entire time that you were on the plan, you were protected. Had something happened, the plan would have paid. Okay. Right? So you, at Sagicor, I can say that if you are on any of our group plans, when you leave, you're able to convert into a personal plan, both your life and your health.
Let me ask just finally on my part, how do you help clients rationalize the thought that I'm in health insurance case, I'm putting into it, but I'm not getting sick? Or in the life insurance case, I'm putting into it, but it's not going to benefit me when I die, or I don't know how long I could do this. How do you help clients rationalize the benefits?
I don't think any of us wants to be sick.
Yeah.
So not getting sick is actually a good thing. But as I said when we started, it's the peace of mind that in the event you get sick, you're able to access the best treatment that may save your life, right? And also, I can only speak on the plans that I offer to my clients. At Sagicor, our health plan also has a preventative package. So if you don't get sick, you have your preventative package you can use every year that allows you to do a consultation. You get to do your basic blood works. For females, you get to do your pap smear, your mammogram. For the men, you get to do your proctology tests and so forth. So if you don't get sick, you are still able to get some benefits, right? And even in addition, you have dental and vision benefits. So you might not get sick, but you may wear glasses. So you may want to get your glasses. All of us should be getting our teeth clean twice yearly. So there's always something that you can use that you don't have to wait to get sick or expect to get sick to see any type of benefits.
Why would some institutions not take insurance?
Explain that further.
We've had cases, I guess, perhaps maybe health institutions and so forth, that maybe they don't take a particular insurance plan or something like that.
I would not know why they would not accept it, because as far as I can say, that the insurance plans that are offered in Belize are paid in Belize. So, and most of the clients who access especially private care, the only reason they can access private care is because they have a health insurance, because we know health care is not cheap, right? So for them not to accept it would actually be at their disadvantage, right? So that would be quite interesting why they would not, because it's the persons that have health insurance that access these care at the private institutions.
Go ahead.
I was going to wrap up the conversation just to say that this conversation has piqued the interest of our viewers, and there are those out there that wants to know more, and they even are convinced to subscribe to health or life insurance. How do they go about doing that or reaching you?
Okay, so they can reach me at 615-9190. They can reach out to me on Facebook, Marsha Gill. They can reach me at Marsha_Gill at Sagicor.com. And what I do initially, the first conversation I have with the client is really to go through what your current situation is, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. So what April may need might not be what you will need. You have a family. April doesn't have a child as yet. You understand? So in the first conversation, I never talk about the product. I look at what the client has in place, and we see how we can build on it, because we're not trying to replace, but rather grow with the client, right? So that first conversation is to go through, have that conversation, try to get in the mindset of the person as to what it is that you're working towards, what it is that you can achieve, and see where what I offer can then come in place to help you reach those goals that you're working towards.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Marsha.
Thank you.
With that, we are going to take a quick break, and when we return, it's all about supporting island life through reliable delivery. You don't want to miss that conversation? We'll be right back.
Is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning. Independent power producers across Belize generate electricity using a mix of renewable and non-renewable resources. Electricity travels across a network of high-voltage transmission lines capable of transmitting electricity across long distances. Electricity then reaches your nearest substation, where it is adjusted to a lower voltage, making it safe to travel on the distribution lines you see in your community. From there, electricity makes its final journey from the distribution lines to your home, providing you with safe and reliable power when you need it. Belize Electricity Limited. We continue to serve you.
When working with sheetrock, you need screws that give you quick penetration for a speedy, stable installation. Best Screws, fast frame and fast finish drywall screws are specifically designed for you. Engineered by Best Manufacturing, Best Screws makes every job faster and easier. These screws offer reliable performance with a superior hold. You also save money due to Best Screws affordability. They are cheaper than the leading brands. Get the job done quickly without compromising on strength. For all your drywall installations, get Best Screws Fast Frame and Fast Finish. Available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
Introducing BB Insurance, built for Belize. Your security, our priority.
Welcome back. We are joined virtually by the representatives of Island Run Delivery. Joining us via Zoom, we have the franchise owner, Mr. Erwin Dennis. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good, thank you. And Edmund Lewis, who is the marketing director of Island Run Belize. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us via Zoom. Let's talk about your business, Island Run Belize. What is it and what is its main objective? Let's start with you, Erwin.
Hi, good morning. So first off, my name is Erwin Dennis. I'm a Vincentian national living here in Belize. So basically, Island Run Delivery is a lifestyle application that provides not only Belizeans but persons within the Caribbean, as well as we operate in Jamaica and Barbados as well, the opportunity where they could have a one-stop shop in this new digital age where you could either find a job, book a taxi, do rentals, accommodations, or even order food, do pickups and drop-offs, everything done in one app. So we provide everyone the ability here locally in Belize where they could now order their food directly, like if it was Uber Eats. The only difference is that unlike Uber Eats, we would not charge you the service fees and so forth in most of the major towns. So we're partnered directly with over 400 businesses in all main towns. And when I'm talking about all main towns, we're talking about Curacao, Orange Walk, Belize City, San Pedro, Kikaka, Placencia, Hopkins, San Ignacio, Santa Elena, Dangriga, Belmopan, and Goin. So we have partnered with all of the main restaurants from these towns, small businesses from these towns, pharmaceuticals, rentals, hair salons, barbershop. Basically, anything you need to do, you can just go onto the app, book it there. You could order it for pickup or for delivery. If you order it for delivery, one of our run men locally from each of the town will go, pay for it, pick it up, and then have it delivered to you.
One of the essential issues that we've had in Belize over the years is reliable delivery services. That's true. How do you vet these persons that would be doing the delivery oftentimes? Are they independent from you? How does it work?
So basically, at the present stage where we are at with Island Run in Belize, we've been basically trying it out by working alongside with some of the what I would say is the localized runmen that are already operating in town. So we've had the opportunity of getting our own feedback as to exactly what customers has been going through with this. So with that being said, what we are doing at present, we are still working along with a few of them. But as of the 1st of March, we are going solely independent countrywide with our own localized runmen, our own branding. When it comes to high-end runmen, we have our own internal system where we're going to be vetting them through police records, making sure that the vehicles are up to par. And we're actually trying to stray away from even using runman vehicle and using our own branded vehicle so that we could ensure that everything is up to par with the local traffic authorities and so forth, because we've been trying to work together with them locally in each of the towns. We've visited most of them already to try to ensure that we could meet up to standards with them to ensure that we could provide a reliable service, fast service, everything.
Can I?
So
Can we bring Mr.
Edmund
into the conversation? Mr. Edmund, one of the questions I have has to do with what's your thoughts on Belizeans embracing this technology and this direction? Do you see that we are ready for it?
Well, I think that we're more than ready. We're moving in a technological developing world, and everything is being now digitalized. So with this app, they'll now have everything at their fingertips. I think it brings convenience, affordability, and reliability. So this is something that will definitely work in the country.
What do you think perhaps is or has been one of the obstacles that we face in seeing these sort of apps and these sort of services not fully embraced or by Belizeans across the country?
Okay, well, one of the main factors would be that people are already used to the traditional ways, right? They're already used to going into the restaurants, picking up. So adjusting to the digital world would definitely be, a main challenge. Another thing would be the service fees that comes on these apps. The prices are too high, so this would discourage people to want to download and actually utilize the services.
Yeah.
We saw something like this a few years ago. I believe it was called Belize on delivery, and it seemed really up to par in terms of they had their equipment, they had their runmen, they had an app, all of that jazz, and it just did not work out in Belize City, I will say. So how are you all proposing to ensure that something like this is stable and continuous in the long run?
So basically what I would like to say is that, well, I would have, before I came to Belize, I would have done some research with Bistro and Belize on. And I've tried my best, because I've been in Belize for 7 months. And I've had the opportunity of visiting every town in Belize. It's a very lovely country. I've done it door to door on my feet from Orange Walk straight down to Placentia. So I've heard all the stories from all the various different business persons. So what it is we decided to do, right, which is one of the reasons why we asked for this interview, is to invite the public to our official launch, which is on the Ruta Maya weekend. On this launch, we're going to be doing something that we call a tour. It's called a Food and Soca Tour, it's going to be held in 3 major towns: Belize City, San Ignacio, and Orange Walk. And at this tour, we're inviting the local public. It's free for everyone to come out, meet the vendors that are partnered with us at all the venues. They're going to be advertised on our pages. Some of the flyers will be up here shortly. And we're going to give the customers a one-on-one experience at these venues for the store with Island Run and the vendors, how to use the app, everything. What I would have realized is that in the past, the companies would have came without the experience of application, marketing, And some of them had business experience, but the app is way more than that. Secondly, Belize market is too small to sustain an app individually if it's just Runman alone, if it's a Runman business. So we don't just depend on Belize. As I would have explained, we've been operating in Jamaica for 2 years now, and we have over 700 businesses on our app from Jamaica. So what we provide now is more of an inter-Caribbean link, where you could now, if you're leaving here and you're going to Belize, or you're going to Jamaica, sorry, and you want to see what's going on in Jamaica, you could just download Island Run. Check out the restaurants, check out the tours. If someone is from Jamaica is coming here, they could do the same. So we're going to try to more culturalize Island Run into the system as opposed to just coming and advertise. We need to culture it, get persons to understand, know that, hey, you could get a job on the app. If you're looking for a job, Island Run could get you a job on the app. If you want a taxi, you could get it on the app. If you want to book a golf cart and you're in San Ignacio and you're going to San Pedro, you don't need to call, you can do it on the app.
Yeah.
And one of the best things we were able to do was to partner with the local organizations such as Belize Bank, DG Wallet. Thank you. I want to send a shout out to DG Wallet and Belize Bank. They've been working together with us to make our integration for payment system with the local cards, which I found I couldn't work outside of Belize, which was a shock for me.
I love that.
You can now on Island Run Delivery as of March 1st. Everyone can pay for everything directly from Island Run app with their card.
It sounds like you have done your homework, and I appreciate, just based on that explanation, the direction you are heading. I know the world is moving more and more towards technology, and I embrace the fact that we're not just trying to stay behind, but we have innovators and business-minded people that are coming forward and say, all right, that one may have failed, but Belizeans deserve more. So let's come again. We not come again. And this time, let's try to make it happen. Edmond?
Yeah, so like I had explained to him when we were having a conversation, I think that this was a very innovative idea. And this is something that Belize can definitely embrace. I visited the app myself. I actually have it downloaded on my phone. And one of the things that I see there is the gym. You know, it's the new year, and everyone's resolution would be to join the gym. So the gyms can also reach out. We add them to the app, and you can simply go and purchase your membership, whatever it is that you want. Like he had mentioned, it's a lifestyle app. So it's everything at your fingertip, at your convenience, while being affordable.
All right, so remind us of the launch date one more time, and the exact location where these events will be taking place.
So guys, we're talking about food and soca featuring Turner from Trinidad, live and direct from Trinidad. We're going to be heading to Belize City at Constitution Park, right, March the 7th. March the 8th, we are heading to Falcon Field. That is in San Ignacio. And then March the 9th, we're heading to People's Stadium in San Pedro. It's a full tour. Turner is going to be there with us. We also have a magician coming in from Trinidad for the kids. It's a pop-up event from 10 a.m. straight to 10 p.m. Soca all day, food all day, the entertainment vibes, you know, various different things. To explain it all here would be too little. You need to come to see it yourself. You know, so we're inviting everyone. Admission is free. Just come on.
Okay, I was gonna ask about purchasing tickets, but if we want more information about this and just maybe see the calendar of events, is there like a social media page?
There's only one place to get everything. Even I also forgot we also have another event going on the said night as well, a club style event featuring a jury from Jamaica. Everything is done directly on Island Run. So you could download the Island Run delivery app. We have our events on the app, the stores on the app, tickets. You can purchase tickets for ticketed events directly from the app. You can do everything on Island Run delivery app. You can check up for everything. It's there. All updates, everything. So all you got to do is download the app, order for delivery or pickup. We are doing our soft opening in San Ignacio and San Pedro this Wednesday, and the other towns we are presently updating them so that they could accept cards now for the other towns later down this month.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing this to us, gentlemen, and We look forward to having more conversations on this topic as the business grows and as we see it expand and in terms of usage across the country. So thank you both so much and all the best into the future.
Thank you guys for having us. Thank you again, and do enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you guys all.
Same to you. All right, so we're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we're going to have the last but certainly not least important conversation, and that is about Red Cross support, accessibility across Belize.
This year reminded us that our work is so much more than communication. It's connection. Every time we supported a school, a youth program, or a community event, we felt the heartbeat of Belize. We met students who just needed someone to believe in them, and families grateful for a supportive hand. We saw communities welcome SMART not just as a brand, but a trusted friend. For us, impact is created through service, presence, and purpose. As we move into a new year, we remain committed to empowering our communities and sharing stories that reflect how SMART strengthens the connections that matter most.
That commitment to people drives how we build our products. We focused on delivering real value and flexibility. We upgraded our postpaid plans to include social media data, keeping you connected to your favorite platforms without the extra cost. For the prepay family, we enhanced prepaid plans to ensure you get more data and benefits from every single recharge. Flex bundles now better match real-time budgets, improving affordability. We introduced affordable Mexico data bundles to keep you connected while traveling. We are listening, adapting, and ensuring you get high-value connectivity you deserve.
Great plans need a great network. SMART strengthened its promise of bringing people together by investing heavily in expansion. We added new towers in key areas, bringing a stronger signal and improved service to more communities. Customers along the coastal road in Blancano, Mountain Pine Ridge, and Cristo Rey now enjoy more consistent coverage, making SMART a reliable companion for every journey. SMART launched its fiber network in Sartineja, bringing reliable high-speed connectivity for today's digital needs.
At SMART, we strive to reflect the energy of Belize in everything we do. From celebrating 20 years of excellent service to exciting collaborations, we've shared unforgettable times. We've delighted you with our biggest giveaways and deals ever. Ads you could laugh and connect to, and launched a revamped website to make your digital experience faster and more engaging.
As we look forward to the new year, we remain committed to what matters to you most: the communities we serve, the connections we build, and the precious moments we all share. All these remind us of our true identity and steadfast purpose, bringing people together.
In the heart of the Cayo district, Calico Jacks is proving that sustainability and success can go hand in hand.
When Calico Jacks wanted to move to solar energy, the biggest difficulty for us was the finance. Belize Bank believed in our vision, and we are very happy and grateful that they gave us this opportunity for the financing.
Through the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, a partnership between Belize Bank and the CARICOM Development Fund, small and medium businesses can access financing for renewable and energy-efficient solutions with reduced collateral requirements.
Here at SCSB, we're grateful for Belize Bank to make it easy for our clients to go green. We're proud to work with businesses like Calico Jacks to help them lower their costs and their carbon footprint.
At Belize Bank, we are powering Belize's transition to renewable energy, one business at a time. Together with our partners, we're making sustainable financing accessible for all.
Belize Bank, financing a greener, stronger Belize.
Need to submit your sickness benefit claim online and have a physical medical certificate? Here's how you can do it. First, go to ssbportal.org.bz and log into your My Social Security account. Next, on your dashboard, click Benefits and choose Forms. Review the requirements, then click Continue to proceed. Click Apply under Sickness Benefit to start your claim. Review and confirm your banking information. If it is not correct, select No and follow the steps to update your banking details. If your banking information is correct, select Yes. Next, if your illness is not related to an injury at work, select No and proceed to upload your medical certificate. Select your claim period and confirm your employer details. Read the declarations and click each to agree. Click Submit and you're done. A confirmation email will be sent to you. Your employer will also receive an email with your claim details and a request for your salary information. If needed, submit your sickness benefit claim online and receive real-time status updates.
Electricity is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning. Independent power producers across Belize generate electricity using a mix of renewable and non-renewable resources. Electricity travels across a network of high-voltage transmission lines capable of transmitting electricity across long distances. Electricity then reaches your nearest substation, where it is adjusted to a lower voltage, making it safe to travel on the distribution lines you see in your community. From there, electricity makes its final journey from the distribution lines to your home, providing you with safe and reliable power when you need it. Belize Electricity Limited. We continue to serve you.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned with us. This is our final conversation for this morning. And we have joining us National First Aid Trainer over at Belize Red Cross, Terence Woodai. And he's going to be guiding us in a conversation that really has to do about improving the quality of life for people across this country. And of course, this is about wheelchairs and crutches and walkers and providing that type of support. Mr. Woodai, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you guys, and Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year to you. It's a pleasure having you. So, it's a new year. Talk a bit about what Red Cross has been up to in terms of identifying needs where wheelchairs and these sort of assistive equipment are concerned.
All right, so over the years at the Belize Red Cross, we have been doing several programs and projects. However, we have this wheelchair program that we collaborate with the Jesus Church of the Latter-day Saints, Jesus Christ Church of the let me hope I get it correct, that we bring in specialists through the church, that they come in and we have wheelchairs. Actually, these wheelchairs came in the Christmas Eve. We had a whole container came in, and people have been over the years have been asking for wheelchair. I know it's a business out there, but for us, we don't sell our wheelchair. We have trained assessors countrywide from Corozal to Toledo. So these specialists come in and they're here this week, and they will train our assessors how to assess clients. It's a process that they go through measurements, checking their size, and we actually build or customize the wheelchair to their fit. Yeah.
I find that wheelchairs in Belize are very expensive.
They're very expensive.
And I know that there are cases where perhaps clinics rent it out to persons that need it and so forth. But for this particular purpose, you have over 300 plus chairs that have been given to the Belize Red Cross. Who needs a wheelchair?
Well, there's a process. Not everyone that asks for a wheelchair will get a wheelchair. Some of the process is that you must be able to be sitting upright in a 90-degree angle. You shouldn't have any bed sores within the past year. If you do have in the past, they should be dried and you're okay. And there are several things you have to go through. So people would come in and say, I need a wheelchair, but we do have our assessors that go out and we do assessment in Belize City as well as our district.
We don't charge for assessment. Our assessors are fully trained, and at the end of the day, they'll take your measurement. They will send back to the office and let us know if you are qualified to get this wheelchair. I also want to say, especially our district, we do send our wheelchair, and I must mention Trafficking. We have several partners. We partner with Trafficking, and over the years, not only wheelchair, but whatever we send from Red Cross branch to the next Red Cross branch, it's free of charge. But especially wheelchair, very bulky. So in this, Trafficking does help us to get our wheelchair to needed person in the districts.
How have we seen wheelchairs improve the quality of life for these individuals based on your experience over the years?
You know, during the clinics that I attend with the wheelchair or different trainings, people will say, you know what, this wheelchair is part of their life. Most people, it's a long term, that's how they mobilize themselves. It's like an extension of their body. I recall in the last clinic, one of the guys says, this is my truck. This is how I move around. And when I say move around, he move on the highway on his wheelchair. So we have standard wheelchair, but we do have different wheelchair that can go on rugged terrain as well, all terrain.
How do I qualify to need
a
this
wheelchair? So you could call us if you know someone, or if you need a wheelchair, you call us at our headquarters in Belize City. Our contact number is 203-3319, and we'll get someone at the office will get your information, your address, and what we can also do is ask you to do a quick measurement for us. 2 hardcover book, have the person sit upright and measure on both sides of the hip and in centimeters, get us that, so that we don't go do the measurement and come back and build a wheelchair. We could build a wheelchair and take it, and we could do the final adjustment right there in your home or wherever you are.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question, because I imagine that you would have to construct it to your measurement and so forth.
Yes, it's a process to go through.
Yeah. What else is happening this week aside from the training with the experts? Is there a distribution event as well?
Well, for this week it's the training only.
Okay, when is that?
Actually, it starts today, whole week. But we have the assessors we have people actually coming in Thursday and Friday of this week to do their assessment, and they will walk away with their wheelchair on site. So after the assessment, they will take that wheelchair right away. However, after this week, we have people that will call in, and then we'll build your wheelchair, and then you come in at the office, or we'll take it to you. Yeah.
All right. And for persons maybe renting out to clinics, so if a clinic calls and says, hey, I really need like 3 wheelchairs, is that something that you all will be doing?
We don't usually rent the wheelchair.
Okay.
We'll have to do an assessment. If it's something that they don't have and we have extra, we don't mind donate it to you guys, but we won't rent them. It's a donation. Right. We ask if you want to give a donation, and for clients that would get this wheelchair, if you want to give Red Cross a donation, that's okay with you, depending on your ability to do that.
All right. Yeah. Well, Mr. Woodai, it's been a pleasure. Continue to do the great work that you all are doing over there. I know for a fact that over 300 wheelchairs will benefit a lot of people across this country, and that we will see a lot of good come out of this, especially for families that are depending on their loved ones, right? So thank you so much.
I want to add one more thing. I'm a first aid instructor, so I do a lot of training, and I train people. We also do training in wheelchair etiquette and handling. For example, I have trained the staff of Trafficking. We have trained people from different institutions that holds wheelchair, how to access wheelchair, how to bring people down from the plane, how to bring them from stairs, how to stop in certain way, how to access very narrow ways and so on. So we train and we certify people in handling of wheelchair as well. So if there's organizations out there or entities, contact us and we could do a certified training for you.
And that number is again?
203-3319.
Wonderful.
Right, our office is located at number 11 Handyside Street, Belize City.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Woodai. And we also want to say a big thank you to all of our guests that joined us this morning. And thank you to our viewers for having the conversation as well with us online, because without you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much. It is January 12th. I have a birthday shout out. I want to say a happy birthday. Well, a birthday in advance to my Tia Myrna. I love you so much. Her birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So happy birthday, Tia. I love you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day tomorrow. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, you can drop us a line right here at oie@greaterbelize.com.
You can also catch us live on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And our highlights on Instagram, that's OIE Belize. We also have a WhatsApp number, so call us and text us at 675-2555. But please, do us a favor and join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon, Belize. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.